Today on the episode, we're going to talk about scaling your multifamily business. To me, it kind of breaks down to three things. It's planning, process, and people, and it would be in that order. So we're going to go through it. Planning, to me, this is the most important part, and it's also the funnest part. It's setting a vision, a long-term goal for your company. When I first started out, my initial goal was to have 10 units in 10 years. So I was looking at buying a house a year for 10 years, and I changed it to 100 and then 1,000 units pretty quickly. As soon as I set the target for 1,000 units, I knew that I had to do things differently. So I could no longer buy 1 unit at a time. I couldn't even buy 10 units at a time. I had to average 100 units a year. So maybe at the beginning I wasn't buying 100, but over time you'd average that out to 100 a year. So that looked different. I had to have the ability to raise capital. I had to have employees to manage it. So when you start, you plan it out, you have the long-term goal and work backwards. It makes the whole process a little easier. And it can be on more of a micro level where you go to buy your first property, have a plan in place, be able to show them exactly what you want to buy, what areas you want to be buying in. The planning side of it goes to choosing those areas too. You don't want to be in an area where it's losing jobs or losing population. Do the planning, do the analytics, find out which areas you want to be in, and then build that plan out. If you want to set the goal at 1,000 units, you need the ability to raise capital. So you're going to have to build that plan out, right? Who do you know that has money that wants to invest with you? Where can you find groups of people that are going to get excited about it? You set the goal big enough, you're also going to have a lot more people want to join you. So for me, when I set the first goal at 1,000 units, it's scary. That's a big number. I really didn't know how we were going to get there. But when you start building out that plan and working backwards, you break it down into little chunks. It's like, how am I going to get my first 100 units, right? Is that going to be one property? Maybe it's going to be 2 properties. How much capital do I need to raise? It makes it a lot more easy when it's in little bite-sized chunks like that. So the next step is process. This is something that covers a pretty wide spectrum. The thing about process is you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to go out and build everything out on your own. Our company, we like doing that. We like to kind of change the way the industry does things because we think there's a lot of inefficiencies. But to start out, you can reach out to people who are already doing it, ask them how they're doing it. Say, how are you getting leads? What's your best ad channel? What platform are you using for managing tenants? And people are going to be pretty receptive. They're going to be able to answer. You don't have to go to someone who runs a massive hedge fund and ask them how to do it. You can ask someone who's just, at the next level you're going to be at, because some of the technology and the platforms are going to change as you go. For me, I looked at people like, Grant Cardone. How did he go out and raise so much capital using only social media? How did he grow his portfolio? Robert Martinez, rockstar real estate out of the States, he's great on the operations side, right? That's what he really leans into heavily. So you can take tips away from him. How is he managing his properties? What asset class is he buying? Things like that. So you're not starting from zero and trying to just build out a whole new company. There's a ton of information on the internet right now. There's so many podcasts based just on real estate. We're going to spend a lot of time on this channel talking a lot more about just process and the things we do to help grow our company. We can say kind of how you got from zero to where we are and how we go from where we are to the next level. So now this ties into people. So the people side of the business is something that comes very natural for some people and very unnatural for most people, right? It's not comfortable to go ask people to invest with you, and just communicating with people in general. For me, it didn't come very natural when I was younger. I read a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. It does a really good job of explaining how most people are interested in themselves, right? So the I is the most commonly used letter in the English language, right? And it explains how you can have a conversation. If you just go in there, first time you meet someone, you have agenda like, hey, I want to raise capital from them, or I want to hire them from my company, it's probably not going to come off well. You're going to talk about yourself and everything you're excited about, and they're not going to get a chance to talk much or ask questions. If you kind of do that in reverse and you ask them, pretty quickly you can find what someone's passionate about, keep the conversation there, ask them lots of questions. By the end of it, they're going to feel like, you're a really smart person and they just had a great conversation, and they're going to want to know more about you and your business. You're going to build up that trust. So little tips like that can just go a long ways in making those relationships and connecting with people. So if you're interested in scaling up your multifamily business, start with the 3 P: planning, process, people. Planning, build the long-term goal right from the start. Know kind of what your exit is. Process, start with something simple and start documenting it and process it. And then on people, I'd start with, if you're not great at communication or sales, start with a book. Get good at figuring out what people want and what your ask is going to be. That'll go a long ways. We'll see you guys next week on Scaling Up.